Could I address the, I don't call it cap and trade, it's cap and tax. There's one bit of good news in that Nancy Pelosi forced some of these Democrats to vote for it when they should not have, and now they have to go home and defend it. The best news of all is that the Senate, some of the same Democrats in the Senate, I say sane, there are a few, said, you're not doing this to my state. Now, let's peel away all the rhetoric and what the real impact of a cap and tax bill will be. We might as well give up in the economic war against China. That would be a tragedy. I, for one, and I hope you feel the same way, do not want to see my children and grandchildren living under the thumb of the Chinese, and you pass this cap and tax bill, it will happen not in 15 years, they'll be ahead of us in the next 5.
Just briefly, and I have to tell you that living in Albany we get a double dose of it. So we have Washington and then we have Albany. And I can tell you on the floor we have these debates routinely. The mentality is in Washington and Albany, we'll tax, we'll fine, we'll regulate. That's the model. And there's no creativity, there's no change in how Albany and Washington try to do business. Now I'll use a perfect example. And for any of our farmers, we have any farmers here in the room? All right, we had our farms, and our dairy farms were included in this global warming emission piece. And some Einstein in Washington decided they were going to tax methane emissions from cows. And I've lived in the country, but someone had to give me pointers. I thought that the methane came from one end of the cow. They said, no, Pete, they're ruminants. It comes from the mouth more than from the other end. But with that said, I said, how about this? How about we turn this around a little? How about we give some incentives for the business to be more profitable? How about for that dairy farmer, we give them a methane digester, let them take the cow manure, harvest the methane gas, power their farm, and become more profitable and, as we heard, more economically competitive. How about that? And that's what we need to do.
Hi, my name is Dina Carrera. I said a statement, but I promise a question comes out of the statement, okay? I'm a social worker for the Catskill Elementary School. I have my master's in social work from Columbia University, which I received in 1995. I've dedicated my life to service through social work. I worked as a volunteer firefighter for 5 years. I'm currently working on trying to get a rec center for juvenile delinquency prevention started in the area. I'm doing that as a volunteer pro bono as well. Now, the welfare state was created, as you all know, during a time which right now is archaic and outdated, in my opinion, when we had two-family homes in America, and women depended upon their husbands in order to survive. And when their husbands died and they were widowed, we felt that it was unfair in our society for these women and children to have to suffer, given the type of nation that we are, and we care about the youth and the women in our community. Well, nowadays, we don't have those same type of family structures, unfortunately, but for whatever reason, we don't. And nowadays, we still have programs like AFDC, Aid to Families with Dependent Children, WIC, wonderful programs for women, infant, and children, which were created in the spirit of a two-family home with two incomes, where one income was lost due to tragedy, and the woman and the survivors of that gentleman who had passed away and his children were taken care of by our society. Well, now we have single-family homes. Like myself, I'm a single mother, and I work. I work because I was raised to believe that if you have an education, you have ability, and you're able-bodied, and you have intelligence, and you're blessed by God with these gifts, you should try to provide. You should have honor and dignity to provide for yourself and for your family, because that's what we believe in America. And there are a lot of women like that and a lot of men like that that have children and don't have a second income. How do you propose that we can help realign our government to focus on the current structure of families, how they are now, and the current welfare state is not doing that? What I see the welfare state doing, unfortunately, as a social worker, I see this every day, is that people who come from dual incomes are now able to provide for their children through the welfare state, through the entitlements, better than I'm able to provide for my own daughter, working as hard as I do. How do you suggest that we can make changes in order not only to take, I'm not suggesting to take away from people, but to restructure so single dads and single moms who are trying to do the right thing and trying to be honorable and provide for their children and raise them with a value system that that's what they should want to do when they grow up as well, don't have to go on welfare and yet can provide for these kids.